So mic check 1 2 3. Hello check. Hello check. Hello check. Hello check. So hello check. Hello check. Hello 1 2 3.
ये वापस कर सकता है. Hello and welcome back to the discussion on current affairs for this 2020 preliminary exam. So, in the first session, I talked about various topics related to polity. Manish also talked about polity. So, I am continuing with the polity related topics. Today's discussion in this session as well as the next session in which Manish will be talking, this also will be based on the polity and associated topics. So, our aim is to cover as maximum as possible, so that we have maximum coverage, and at the same time what is relevant and required for this preliminary, we are able to cover it properly. And you might have already, you might be knowing these things. If you know, you should be happy, and it's a revision for you. If you don't know, it is a new information, you please take it seriously. So, either way, both sides, those who already know it and those who don't know, both should be happy about this class, because this is something which is very relevant, and it should be seen as a revision for you, because you are preparing for this. And revision is the key. Even now, almost 2 months time is there. You have to revise as maximum as possible, revise the same thing again and again, ensure that you have the right kind of memory, and we can reduce the silly mistakes, and unnecessary errors can be avoided, and your accuracy level will go up if you revise properly and practice as maximum as possible. Lot of questions in our the prelim score, the ALS prelim score platform we have. Please practice as maximum as possible, so that you are not missing out. So, in today's discussion, let me talk about the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Act, SC/ST Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989 and the subsequent amendments. It is a series of issues happened. The Supreme Court judgment came this year. That is why I am picking up this. Okay, this is because the Supreme Court judgment. Supreme Court, this is an act of the Parliament. This SC/ST Act against to prevent the atrocities against the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe. And this SC/ST Act, which was enacted in 1989. Okay, and the section 23(1) of the Act. Section 23(1) of the Act authorizes the central government to frame rules. So, 23(1) of the Act authorizes the central government to frame rules for carrying out for the purpose of the Act. I mean, as far as to prevent the atrocities against the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe. So, but the problem with this Act is a number of cases of misuse of this article came. Misuse of the article. A number of misuse of this article. See, any law there will be some misuse. Please don't mistake it this way. In our country, if there is a positive side, there can always be a negative side. Some people, filing frivolous cases and to harass others. Even the police officer, not just the the victim, or rather the so-called victim is trying to misuse the police. The main problem is the police. The police officers know what are the acts and what are the provisions of the Act. They accordingly, if they have to ensure, or rather if you have to grind their acts, or rather if you have to take revenge on somebody, they may go for doing this. Okay. So, because of the Supreme Court in March 2018, so Supreme Court in March 2018 gave a verdict and said that Supreme Court said that this there is a series of misuse by this. And in this verdict, Supreme Court of India banned immediate arrest of a person accusing of insulting or injuring a scheduled caste or a scheduled tribe member to protect innocence from arbitrary arrest. So, banned immediate arrest. Supreme Court banned immediate arrest on a person who is accused of insulting or injuring a scheduled caste or scheduled tribe member, so that any innocent can be prevented from, or rather saved from arbitrary arrest. And so this was immediately there is a lot of hue and cry. This was seen as a dilution of the Act, and there are a lot of protests, street protests were there, and because of an election was also, it's a very sensitive issue in our country. So it's a vote bank politics also. So whatever it is, immediately without any further thinking, in August 2018, the Parliament passed the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe Prevention Atrocities Amendment Bill. Okay, so it amended the provisions to ensure that whatever Supreme Court has said to bypass or rather to overrule the Supreme Court judgment. So the Amendment Act to bypass the Supreme Court verdict. Okay, so this was the in August 2018, the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Amendment Act, that was in 2018, to bypass, and bill inserted two sections. One is section 18A1. So please see what is the provision of this section 18A1, which says in this 1989 Act, and it says that a preliminary inquiry shall not be required for registration of an FIR against any person. A preliminary inquiry is not required, shall not be required. A preliminary inquiry shall not be required for registration of an FIR against a person. For FIR, first information report, preliminary inquiry is not required. That is number one. Then it also inserted 18. So this is 18A1A. Okay, I just made a mistake. It is 18A1A. Then there is 18A1B. It added one more provision, what is called 18A1B. Okay, 18A1B, which says that the investigating officer shall not require approval for the arrest. Whoever be the investigating officer, this IO shall not require, the investigating officer shall not require approval for the arrest. Okay, investigating officer shall not require any approval for the arrest of a person if necessary for any person against whom an accusation of having committed an offence under this act has been made, and no procedure other than that is provided in the act or court shall apply. I mean, there is no other procedure, and that means there is in IO shall not require approval for the arrest. We can go ahead with the arrest. So this is how these two amendments were made to ensure that, and it is a non-bailable, it's a non-bailable act in any case. So this is something very, very serious according to many experts. Now the criticism is of this law is, it violates the basic principles of liberty and accountability after this amendment, because anybody can be arrested and no checks and balances, and subsequently Supreme Court. Now the point is, and in the Supreme Court, this was challenged in the Supreme Court, and in February 2020, okay, Supreme Court upholds this amendment. Supreme Court said that this amendment is valid. There is no problem with this amendment. Supreme Court, changed its view once again, and so Supreme Court in February 2020 declared that this March 2018 judgment, okay, in February 2020 it declared that this March 2018 judgment, it said the March 2018 judgment has diluted the original 1989 legislation, and they were using its provision to file, at that time they said that false complaints are there, this and that, and Supreme Court declared that this Amendment Act of 2018 is valid, and whatever was said in the previous judgment, it is null and void, and Supreme Court said that there are so many atrocities. See, there is no doubt regarding this. Even Supreme Court started saying that it is wrong on the part of the 2018 judgment to treat all scheduled caste, scheduled tribe community members as liar or crook. See, they have not said like that, but still, see, the point is, so Supreme Court, the bottom line for us is, Supreme Court upheld this 2018 August amendment. Okay, so this 2018 amendment, August 2018 amendment, where 18A1 1A and 1B are inserted, that has been declared valid by the Supreme Court. Now, so one final comment from my side, see, there is no doubt atrocities are happening, atrocities are still happening against, because untouchability is still there, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in the country, that is the reality of this country. Unfortunately, we are not able to treat a human being even now after 70 years of independence or 70 years of a republic. That is something very sad, there is no doubt regarding this. But at the same time, there are cases of misuse, that is also a reality these days, whether it is with the help of the police officers as well as some unscrupulous elements in the country who are aware of the law and they want to take advantage of the situation to harass innocents, or some people who have never practiced this also they are challenged against, I mean the case is filed against them, that is also a reality. So, there should have been checks and balances. Now, under pressure from the community, under pressure from the political what you call compulsions, the government and the parliament passed an amendment to ensure that there is no checks and balances once again. So, that is the situation as far as this Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe Atrocities Act. So, false criminal cases are a reality and we should be, as far as possible, it should be avoided if innocents are sent to jail. And please remember, according to the original act, there is no anticipatory bail also, and there is no bail. Once arrested, no bail until it is proved, until it is proved that you are innocent. So, that is something, it is a violation of the civil rights. It is a violation of the rights of every individual if you are arrested only merely on the basis of an allegation and allegation that you have committed some atrocity. Okay. So, that is the situation as far as the SC/ST Act is concerned. Now, coming to the KASHMIR, next topic, internet shutdown. Internet shutdown, KASHMIR, internet shutdown, Supreme Court verdict. So, Supreme Court in January 2020, Supreme Court in January 2020 ruled that freedom of speech and expression and the right to carry on any trade or business using the internet is constitutionally protected. So, Article 19(1)(a) and Article 19(1)(g). To fulfill Article 19(1)(a) is the freedom of speech and expression, and 1(g) is to carry on any profession or any activity, any economic activity. This can be done or using internet. Okay. So, the using internet is a fundamental right, or it is an inferred right. So, the access to internet is a fundamental right under Article 19. That is what Supreme Court has said. The court also directed Jammu and Kashmir authorities to immediately restore internet service in all institutions providing essential services, hospitals, banks, etc. And it said freedom of speech and expression and freedom to practice any profession or carry on any trade, business or occupation over the medium of internet enjoys constitutional protection under Article 19(1)(a) and 19(1)(g). That is what I am saying. It comes under Article 19(1)(a) and 1(g). And the restrictions on such fundamental rights should be in consonance with the mandate under Article 19(2). See, in fact, Supreme Court did not deny. So, another point we should talk about, the Supreme Court continued to accept that Article 19(2) deals with the reasonable restrictions. The court ruled that repetitive orders under Section 144, the Section 144 of CRPC, the Criminal Procedure Code, also amount to an abuse of power. That means, this curfew or Section 144, repeated use of it, repeated use, there is a right to protest. Supreme Court said that there is right to protest. There is right to protest, and the repeated use of Section 144 also is an abuse of power. It cannot be used to suppress the legitimate expression of opinion. Section 144 cannot be used to suppress the legitimate expression of opinion or grievance or exercise of any democratic right. Supreme Court said this. Section 144 should not be used or misused every time, and it also directed that what are how many times they have been implemented and publicize all these things. You cannot be endlessly, there cannot be endless Section 144. That is what Supreme Court said that, Now, Supreme Court did not deny government has no power. See, there is a reasonable restriction can be there, but Supreme Court said that the question is one of the extent rather than the existence of power to restrict. So, up to what extent there can be restriction? Supreme Court said that up to what extent there can be restrictions. The issue is up to what extent there can be restriction. It is not about whether there is a power to restrict. Yes, there is power to restrict, but up to what extent? And also this temporary suspension of telecom service and public service rules of 2018, okay, temporary suspension of telecom service rule 2017, and the suspension can be only temporarily or temporary duration, because, but what has happened is, so once the article 370 was withdrawn from August month onwards, August 5th onwards, the complete ban on internet, no internet whatsoever, and till January it continued. And even now that 4G connection is not there, only 2G connection. What is this nonsense? There is no connectivity. It is as good as no connectivity in this era. If you are saying you will get only 2G connectivity, not even 3G, it's a disaster, and people are not able to use the internet at all. That is a very, very sad aspect of the whole thing. When you are suppressing the legitimate rights of the people, no matter whatever it is, they have a right. They are Indian citizens. We cannot ignore them. That is what Supreme Court said. So, a temporary suspension. In fact, even the temporary suspension of telecom services rules 2017, temporary suspension of telecom services rules 2017, you can suspend temporarily, not endlessly. And also Supreme Court said that it has to, this any restriction should adhere to the principle of proportionality. Any restriction should adhere to the principle of proportionality. Should adhere to the principle of proportionality, and it cannot extend beyond the necessary duration. Okay, it cannot extend beyond the necessary duration. That the Supreme Court said that, and also Supreme Court said that you can restrict access to some, you can block some of the websites and all. You cannot block the whole internet. Supreme Court earlier also said that there can be blockage of certain sites, certain websites, certain programs, but not blocking the whole internet itself. So, it is a, Supreme Court has insisted that it is a fundamental right. Okay, under Article 19, right to have access to internet is a fundamental right under the under Article 19. That's what Supreme Court said that, and freedom of speech and expression, Article 19(1) and 19(2) cannot be endlessly used, and it cannot be used in what extent we can use, only limited extent we can use. That is what Supreme Court has said that. But again, in this judgment also, the sad part of the Supreme Court judgment is court laid down the law, but it did not provide relief. The biggest problem with the judgment was that the court did not provide relief to the people. See, Supreme Court said that you have a right, but Supreme Court should have immediately called, it has said that within 24 hours, 48 hours, we should, you provide 3G, 4G, whatever it is, it should have been said by the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said you have a right, but how to implement, how to ensure this right, Supreme Court did not tell. That is where the problems are there in our country. The Supreme Court is, stopping short of what is required. They understand it, they know it, but when it comes to implementation, when it, in summoning, Supreme Court, if required, they could have called anybody, any officer, any executive to the court and instructed them, you have to implement within so and so time, 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever it is. That has not been done. Everything else Supreme Court has done. Supreme Court said, you have a right. Yes, I have a right. Then what next? No answer. Now, it has been left to the mercy of the executive. The very executive who, cancel or rather completely block the entire internet, the very executive is asked to consider this matter. How will they consider? Then very, very conveniently, the government said that, okay, we will restore internet, but only 2G, so that you cannot see anything, you cannot use anything. So, that is where the problems are there right now. This relief should have been a bit more. See, there are so many instances in the past where Supreme Court has given, and they could have a court monitored committee could have been there, and Supreme Court should have been giving a deadline for all these things. So, they should have been reporting after restoring it. If Supreme Court is so pained about the withdrawal of the internet and Article 19(1)(a) and 1(g), if it is a fundamental right, and whatever it is a fundamental right, but Supreme Court did not do enough to restore it. Everything else Supreme Court said. Okay, so that is the Supreme Court judgment. So, right to have access to internet and right to protest, both an endless use of section 144 is against the constitution. Both are fundamental rights, inferred rights under our in our constitution. That is what Supreme Court has said. Okay, so that is it. Then coming to the next topic. Now, right to die with dignity. Right to die with dignity. This is another, it is a, Article 21 is right to life. And there is the earlier judgment till 1996 or till 1994 in a Gyan Kaur versus State of Punjab case, Gyan Kaur case, Supreme Court held that, this suicide right, there is no right to die. The earlier in 1994 judgment, Supreme Court said that there is after that 1996 the Gyan Kaur in the P. Rathinam case. Okay, in 1994 judgment, Supreme Court held that there is right to die. There is right to die. But in 1996, Supreme Court reversed the order in the Gyan Kaur case. Gyan Kaur case. Supreme Court declared that there is no right to die and there is no euthanasia, that means no mercy killing, no right to die, no euthanasia, no assisted suicide, no assisted suicide, and no euthanasia. That is what Supreme Court said in 1996. But subsequently in 2011 in the Aruna Sombog case, in 2011, Supreme Court held that the passive euthanasia can be allowed under exceptional circumstances. In 2011, Aruna Sombog, Aruna was a nurse in the KEM hospital in Mumbai, and she was criminally assaulted in 1973, and she was in a vegetative state, and some of her friends went to the court saying that enough of suffering for her, she should be, the euthanasia should be what you call implemented on her, or rather she should be, an assisted suicide should be there, but Supreme Court refused and said that there can be passive euthanasia, there can be passive euthanasia in extraordinary or exceptional circumstances, in exceptional circumstances. There can be passive euthanasia in exceptional circumstances and under the strict monitoring of the court, and under strict court monitoring. There is passive euthanasia, but under strict court monitoring. And Supreme Court made a distinction between active euthanasia and passive euthanasia. In active euthanasia, something is done to end the patient's life. So, what is active euthanasia? Let me just talk about that, maybe a question for you. Active euthanasia. Something is done to end the patient's life, to end the patient's life. Something is done to end the patient's life. while passive euthanasia is something is not done that would have preserved the patient's life. Passive, something is not done. Something is not done that would have preserved the patient's life. Okay, something is not done that would have preserved the patient's life, that is in a passive euthanasia. You could have done something, maybe we did not, something would have done, something is done to, the passive euthanasia, something is not done, that means oxygen is not given, that would have preserved the patient's life. So, that is the passive euthanasia. So, in Aruna Schwambach case in 2011, Supreme Court held the passive euthanasia could be given, but under the strict monitoring of the court. That is the situation. Then Supreme Court, but subsequently in 2018, Supreme Court talked about, once again moved one step ahead, and in 2018, Supreme Court declared that you have a right to die with dignity. Supreme Court in 2018 said that you have a right to die with dignity. So, Supreme Court has gone one step ahead and said that opinion that a decision regarding, now what is that right to die with dignity? Supreme Court in the common cause versus Union of India. It is in the common cause versus Union of India case. Supreme Court said that it is a fundamental right under Article 21. The right to life and liberty as envisaged under Article 21 is meaningless unless it encompasses within a sphere of individual dignity. So, there should be individual dignity should be protected, and then only Article 21 can be there. So, passive euthanasia has been done, and it was said that the guidelines in there can be a living will. Now, there can be right to die with dignity, and the Supreme Court also said that there can be something called a living will. Supreme Court came up with a new idea which is called as a living will. So, there can be guideline, a living will may be made by the terminally ill patients. And what is a living will? It is a person's right to issue advance directive. A person's right to issue advance directive on the course of his or her treatment. Advance directive on the course of his or her advance directive, a person's right to issue advance directive on the course of his or her treatment, including withdrawal of life support, including withdrawal of life support. Including withdrawal of life support should such a situation arise, in case such a situation arise, in case such a situation arise. So, a person's right to issue. So, the bottom line is a person's right to issue advance directive on the course of his or her treatment, including withdrawal of life support should such a situation come. So, that is the meaning of living will, but however, there is no way we can ensure that it is 100% foolproof, but these guidelines which can be now Supreme Court issued guidelines in what circumstance this living will can be enforced. Supreme Court issued guidelines. Supreme Court issued guidelines and directives in such a way that in what circumstances this living will can be implemented. It has been said, and Supreme Court very clearly mentioned that a court monitored system will be there, and you are right to, there can be right to refuse artificial life support, medically referred as passive euthanasia. So, everything is fine, So, but it will be under the Supreme Court has issued even the guidelines how and this can be implemented. So, Justice Chandrachud, one of the lead judges in that judgment, he said dying is a part of the process of living. Dying is a part of the process of living. Dying is a part of the process of living. That means, Article 21 talks about right to life, but every moment, every passing moment, we are approaching towards death. That is the reality. We are, every moment when but this moment right now, we lost that moment's life. I mean, we are reducing we are approaching towards death. We are coming closer to the death. That is the reality. So, Supreme Court said that dying is a part of the process of living, and Supreme Court said that right to die in peace could not be separated from right to life and Article 21. Okay. So, right to die in peace cannot be separated. Right to die in peace cannot be separated from right to life and Article 21, but active euthanasia, Supreme Court did not agree, only passive euthanasia and right to die with dignity. So, that is how Supreme Court verdict has come in 2018. So, earlier there is no right to die. A brief period in 1994 to 96, the court said that there is right to die, but subsequently 96 again Supreme Court declared that there is no right to die, there is no right to suicide. Even section, for a brief period, section 309 of the IPC was declared unconstitutional, but it is still there. Section 109 is still there. So, there is no right to suicide, and there is a section 309, there is a punishment for attempt to commit suicide. Punishment for attempt to commit suicide is there. So, these things, and now one last point I would like to add here is, in some of these Scandinavian countries, an analysis, all I am trying to say is that there are some countries in the world like Netherlands, Belgium, some states of US, this euthanasia is permitted, but the chance of misuse is very high, and most important thing is life once taken out, taken away, cannot be given back. Okay, the life once taken away cannot be given back. That is the reality. So, we should not be, no matter how difficult a situation is, how painful, and even if it is a terminally ill patient, there is always a hope. I mean, even a person in coma, there are instances when people have come back to life. So, if you take away the life, the chance that we have permanently extinguished the life, we can never give it back. The problem is that, had we been able to give back life, then there is no problem, but we are not in a position to do that. So, that is the problem. That is where the whole issue is. So, euthanasia, mercy killing, or all these things should be exercised with great care, because every life is precious and we should not be a party to take away the lives of the people unnecessarily. That is the meaning of it. So, but Supreme Court said there is right to die with dignity under Article 21. Okay, right to die with dignity under Article 21 is there. Now, let us come to another topic. This is that Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, UAPA, Amendment Act 2019. So, this has been there, we have a series of, it is there right from, 1969, UAPA Act 1969, and we have amended, the last amendment is in 2019, and in this amendment, Supreme Court provide for special procedures to deal with terrorist activities, and main focus is on to deal with terrorist activities. This is to deal with terrorist activities, and in this they define who may commit terrorism. Under the Act, the central government may designate an organization as a terrorist organization. Okay, any organization as terrorist, an organization can be declared as terrorist organization if it commits or participates in an act of terrorism, prepares for terrorism, promotes terrorism, or otherwise involve in terrorism. Okay. So, participate, prepare, promote, involve, but most importantly, what is most controversial thing is the bill empowers the government to designate individuals as terrorists, can designate individuals as terrorists. This is where on the same ground for promoting, so this is where the controversy is there. An individual, see, there is a right to reputation for us. Now, if the government accuses somebody of a terrorist and later on if it is found that he was not a terrorist, the loss of faith and loss of dignity and loss of reputation of that person. So, the biggest challenge in this particular amendment is you are designating individuals with, and this individual has no right to defend, already designated. Court has not done it. See, if the court is punishing and designating, it is okay. So, the government is designating, the court is not designating an individual as a terrorist. If the court is finally punishing and we know he is a terrorist or XYZ is a terrorist, but if the government is designating, he has no right to defense. No one shall be punished without being heard. It is a violation of natural justice, but that is what is happening in this act. That is number one. And number two, the property, the approval for seizure of property by NIA. The NIA can seize property by under this act, an investigating officer is required to obtain prior approval of the Director General of Police, DGP, and seize the property that may be connected with that terrorism. Okay, an investigating officer, an investigation by NIA, investigate the case and may be conducted by an officer by the rank of Deputy Superintendent of Police, DYSP, or Assistant Commissioner. And but it is also, till now it was DYSP or Assistant Commissioner, but now the act is saying that the investigating officer can be an officer of the rank of inspector. Now, the IO, investigating officer, can be an inspector also. Earlier it was a Deputy Superintendent of DYSP or an Assistant Commissioner level officer should have been investigating. Now, this has been given to an inspector or above. So, it has been reduced further. The lower rank officer can also investigate. So, these are the two provisions mainly added, and a review committee to denotify the individual notified as a terrorist is also constituted. But after notifying a person, so this act also talks about a review committee. Review committee can denotify an individual notified as terrorist, but the problem is he is already done. So, but this is also bypassing the judiciary. Now, the provision says that a review committee will be denotifying an individual, and this also bypass the judicial review. So, individuals as terrorists is a very, very dangerous proposition. You are designating, nominating somebody without giving him a chance to defend his case. And the new amendment is also contrary to principle of innocence and until proven guilty. Now, you are already designating without proving that, and without a proof. Who should have been proving it? The court should have proved that this man is a terrorist, but unfortunately this is against all international law, and this can only repress rather than combat terrorism, because designating an individual as a terrorist would not lead to any conviction or penalty or anything. This is not going to you can only spoil the reputation of a person. See, if he is already a terrorist, there is no problem. But what about the innocents? Vast majority who are accused of a terrorist activity as terrorism, and subsequently if it is found that he has not involved, he has not been party to the case, he is not a terrorist, what will happen to that? So, this is the biggest problem in this particular the right to reputation. Okay, this is according to many experts, this is violating the right to reputation under Article 21, or right to dignity under Article 21. So, life with dignity, right to life with dignity. Okay, right to reputation and right to life with dignity, both are violated by this. There are so many cases where you can file case against any individual and you declare him as a terrorist, बाद में after some time you can always say that oh गलती हो गया and he is not a terrorist anymore, it would have been disastrous. Anyway, so that is about the unlawful activities, UAPA Amendment Act of 2019, and which is controversial. It is giving more powers to the police, and whenever you give more powers to the state police and the state, the only meaning we can say is, the only thing we can say is it will lead to misuse by by the officers, by the police, and innocents will suffer, and there is a huge probability of loss of reputation also. So, anyway, now coming to the next one, the human NHRC Act, NHRC Amendment Act 2019, the National Human Rights Commission, okay, the National Human Rights Commission. So, now the biggest change, the earlier it was that this NHRC chief can be a retired Chief Justice of Supreme Court, and the State Human Rights Commission a retired Chief Justice of a High Court. Okay. So, earlier, now what is that? Now the chief can be any retired judge of the Supreme Court. Now, any retired judge. Now, any retired judge of Supreme Court. And in the State Human Rights Commission, any retired judge of the High Court. So, that is the first dilution, or now Chief Justice and Judge, I mean of course, both are almost equal we can say, but this will ensure that the government has wide range of judges who can be appointed to this post, but otherwise only the retired Chief Justice were to be considered. So, that is one big change made. Now, it also amended that instead of earlier there are 2 members, the Act earlier had 2 persons having knowledge of human rights should have been the NHRC members, earlier 2 members, a good change. Now, it has been moved to 3 members and 1 should be women. Out of 3, 1 should be women. So, that has been specified. Okay, one woman should be there, that has been specified right now. So, that is a good thing, a lady member should be there. And now, it has also expanded the ex officio members. Now, earlier the ex officio members, see earlier the ex officio members were the members of the National Commission for Scheduled Caste, National Commission for Scheduled Caste, National Commission, the chairperson of National Commission of Scheduled Tribe, then National Commission for Women, National Commission for Women. These chairpersons are members of the, they are the they are the members of the NHRC. But now we have expanded. Now we have expanded to include National Commission for Backward Classes, then National Commission for Child Rights, National Commission for Child Rights, then National the chief of the Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities, the Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities. They are also added into the National Human Rights Commission. That is good, there is no doubt regarding this. Now, so there is a couple of good changes, but where there is a real problem, one is this judges, any judge can be appointed, now the government having more freedom and more scope to appoint their own people, and now the most important thing is the term of office of a NHRC member. The NHRC member, the chairperson, I mean the NHRC chairperson or the State Human Rights Commission chairperson have been can be reduced. Now, earlier it was 5 years or 70 years of age, whichever is earlier. Now, 3 years only, 3 years and 70 years, no problem, but they are eligible for reappointment. Earlier they were not eligible for reappointment, now eligible for reappointment. The government will see how they are performing in the first 3 years. If they are performing well, and they can be appointed for another 5 years, another 5 years up to 70. So, this is the catch. That means, if you behave properly, I will appoint you for more time. So, this reappointment of NHRC member and State Human Rights Commission members for 5 years, this is something. So, that means that means there is no 5-year limit now. 3 plus 5, 8 years one person can be NHRC or State Human Rights Commission. And also this is where those NHRC or SR the Human Rights States Human Rights Commission members who behave properly, behave means those who are favorable to the government, definitely they will get reappointment, others will not get reappointment. So, that is dilution of the independence or the working of the National Human Rights Commission or the State Human Rights Commission, no doubt regarding that. But there is another a big point which many people have missed out, that is the power of the Secretary General, the officer, the Secretary General. This act said that the Secretary General of NHRC or the Secretary of the State Human Rights Commission exercise power as may be delegated to them. As may be delegated to them. So, Secretary General of NHRC, that is the officer, that is the IAS officer or retired IAS officer and all will be there. So, they were given power as may be delegated to them by whom? By the chairperson. But now, the bill amended and said that the secretary to exercise all administrative and financial powers. So, if NHRC is, the chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission is not behaving properly, we can always control by the Secretary General. Now, the Secretary General after the amendment will exercise all administrative and financial powers, will exercise all administrative, he will exercise all administrative and financial powers, except the judicial power, okay, except judicial functions. Okay. Earlier it was subject to the chairperson's control, but now there is no chairperson control. Secretary General will exercise all administrative and financial powers, and definitely the meaning is here the government is also putting a checks and balances on more checks on the judge. If the judge is not complying after making him the former judge as a Human Rights Commission chairperson, now if the government is not happy with his judgments or with his conduct, the Secretary General is appointed such a way that he has all administrative power, all financial power, the chairperson has no role. So, definitely the opposition and the civil rights experts, all of them are unanimous in saying that this kind of an amendment has diluted the National Human Rights Commission and the State Human Rights Commission. So many provisions to dilute it. It is quite unfortunate. Independent institutions are getting diluted one by one, which is not a good sign of democracy. That is the meaning of this kind of an amendment right now. This is about the National Human Rights Commission as well as the State Human Rights Commission Amendment 2019, which is diluted the autonomy, the independence and the smooth functioning of this National Human Rights Commission. That is the only conclusion we can make from here. Now, coming to the next topic, the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act. The Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act. Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act, and this bill provides for recognition of identity of transgender persons, prohibition of discrimination against them. It prohibits the discrimination against them, it provides for recognition of identity of the transgender. It also, so it can, recognition of identity. Recognition of identity of such persons, and also it provides for setting up a national council for transgender person. It sets up a national council for transgender persons. Okay, then naturally and the definition of the transgender person is, the bill defines a transgender person as one whose gender does not match the gender assigned at birth. A transgender person is one whose gender, now very important, a transgender person is one whose gender does not match, the gender assigned at the birth. The gender assigned at birth. And it includes transgender men, transgender women, trans women, persons with intersex variation, gender queers, persons with socio-cultural identities such as the hijra and all, the Hindi word which is used. And the bill prohibits the discrimination against a transgender person, it is okay. And the right of residence of every transgender person is ensured. There is a right of residence, and right to have entry into education institution. So many things have been included for the first time. The bottom line is, we have for the first time we recognize the right of these people. They are also equal citizens of this country. Quite unfortunate, they are not, they are not, unfortunately, because of the biological reasons, they are neither men nor women. Okay, so but we want to have, they have a right, they are citizens of this country, irrespective of their sexual orientation, they should be given all the rights. That is the bottom line. And this National Council for Transgender Person, NCT, the National Council for Transgender Person will be chaired by the Union Minister of Social Justice. The Union Minister of Social Justice. And the Minister of State will be there, Social Justice. The Minister of State for Social Justice as the Vice Person, the Secretary, the Minister of Social Justice, then one representative from ministries from Health, Home Affairs, Human Resource Development, etc. So that is how this National Commission headed by the Union Minister of Social Justice. That is true. Then, most importantly, one big drawback of this law, there was a law or there was a private members bill. Introduced, which is passed by Rajya Sabha by a DMK member, Tiruchi Shiva. So, a DMK member introduced, and very rarely a private members bill passed in the Rajya Sabha, because at that time, I think 2016 or 15, I just forgot. So, during this time it was passed mainly because opposition had majority in the Rajya Sabha. Right now, the ruling party has almost managed to have if not majority, but they are able to pass bills very easily. So, at that time it was not there. So, this was passed in Rajya Sabha at that time, even the government did not want. But now this new act, the Transgenders Act, has superseded that that Rajya Sabha bill which was passed by Tiruchi Shiva, the MP at that time. Okay, anyway. So, there was a 2014 judgment, this NALSA judgment, and in that, if you look at that judgment, in that Supreme Court has said that, in this NALSA judgment, Supreme Court said that, the identity of a person is what that person say. The identity of a third gender is what of a person is what he or she is perceived. That means, if I go and declare that I am so and so, that identity should be protected, because what is perceived by that person is final. That was the judgment, but right now that is not there. Now what is happening is, there is a dilution in this act, and in this act what they are saying is, the identity will be confirmed by the district magistrate. District magistrate will issue certificate. So according to many experts, this a district magistrate issuing certificate means, what I perceive is not sufficient, district magistrate has to. So there is a third party involvement, and in the process, that is accordingly many people are saying it is a dilution of what was said in the 2014 judgment. So this matter has been gone to the court once again now. Supreme Court will have to, it may take some time. So then only the final verdict regarding who can be declared as a transgender person. Who is the transgender person? That definition especially is a big question mark, or is a big, that is a controversy which is going on. But anyway, whatever be the situation, this bill is definitely a right step in the right direction. It's a good step in the right direction, I will say. But the transgender people are not fully happy with this, because they expected this to be a bit more in favor of them. There is a minuscule minority, a small minority of the people are transgenders, and they face a lot of humiliation in the society. They are not treated as equal citizens in any case, and we should be protecting them. And the fear expressed by the bill or this act is, there will be misuse of this act if you allow them to come and declare, and the self declaration if it is sufficient. But that is where the question mark is there. How many of us are willing to declare ourselves to be a transgender to get some government scheme and benefit? There may be some people, but only by fearing that misuse, if you are asking the district magistrate to issue certificate, and there could be many instances where these people, the certificate will not be issued on time, or there will be a lot of harassment, there will be a lot of corruption and a lot of problems. You can imagine if you have to step in a government office and get a certificate issued in your favor, and especially a transgender person going to the office and getting it done, it may not be that easy. Anyway, so that is the criticism, where the judgment, earlier in 2014 there was a judgment by the Supreme Court. That judgment was much more liberal than what is this act is right now. That is a that is a complaint. That is a complaint by the experts. Okay, so that's about the transgender act, act which is passed in 2019. Now coming to the RTI Amendment Act. See, the Right to Information Act 2005 is considered to be a landmark, act in the history of independent India. RTI Act 2005. It is one of the high points of the previous UPA government. The MNREGS, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, and this RTI Act was the high points of the UPA one, which many believe that because of the positive vibe created because of these acts, they could even manage to get re-elected in 2009. Subsequently, they spoiled everything. That is a different story. But otherwise, this RTI but this RTI Act has been amended. There is again, like the NHRC, I was talking about the National Human Rights Commission. There is a dilution of this RTI Act also through this amendment in 2019. So 2019 cannot be termed as a good year for many of our independent institutions. Their powers are curtailed, their allowances are curtailed, and their more and more there is a strong desire by the government to control all independent institutions. Any institution which can speak against them, or rather which can create trouble for the government, they are all silenced or clipped, and we are clipping the wings one by one, which may not be good for a vibrant democracy, for the civil rights and the civil liberties. That is what we generally feel. So this Right to Information Act, it amends the status, salary and tenure of the CIC and the state information officers. The status, tenure and salary of CIC, Central Information Commissioners, and State Information Commissioners. State Information Commissioners. So, and in that this Right to Information Act has amended section 13, 16 and 27 of the original act. It amended section 13, 16 and 27 of the RTI Act. It has amended section 13, 16 and 27 of the RTI Act. And section 13 says that earlier the appointment will be for such term, see it was for 5 years. See, earlier the appointment of CIC was for 5 years. Now it is said that for such term as may be prescribed by the central government. For such term as may be prescribed by the central government. So, earlier they had a larger, fixed term. The government had no role to play in that. Now, the new section 13 says that, so the salaries, allowance and other terms again of the Chief Information Commissioner and the Information Commission shall be such that maybe again the salary, allowance, everything again as prescribed by the central government. But earlier it was that it is a fixed term and the salaries and all were equivalent to the there was a already it was fixed in the act. Now it may be as prescribed by the central government. Section 16 of the original act says the state level information, Chief Information Commission and Information Commissioners and the central government. Now central government is controlling the state level officers, central government is controlling it, and central law is affecting even the state information commissioners. So that means it is even affecting the federal system. It is affecting the federal system. So central government is unilaterally deciding the tenure, salary, allowances and all. And also there can be a deduction in salary, meaning earlier if a retired officer, deduction, the third thing is a deduction in salary, meaning earlier if a retired government officer is appointed as an information commissioner, his pension amount what you are getting at that time, it would have been deducted from his salary, but now that deduction is not there. Okay, what is saying that the bill remove this provision of deduction. So basically what is happening is that when these officers are appointed earlier, there is a fixed tenure and their salaries and allowances were fixed and equivalent to the judges of the High Court and things like that. It was fixed, but now it is subject to the mercy of the central government. Now it is saying that it is subject to, it is saying that it shall be such as may be prescribed by the central government will prescribe depending on, so that constitutional protection, the constitutional or rather your salary, allowances, privileges and all which have been protected by law has been taken away. And according to again the critics, this is definitely a dilution of this act, and it will be diluting the RTI, and because RTI means inconvenient questions are asked and government is not willing to answer many of these questions in any case. One good example is the PM Care. See, Prime Minister ke naam pe, in the name of Prime Minister, you are creating an account like a National Relief Disaster Management Fund or Relief Fund. The good example is the PM Cares. You are using the term PM, Prime Minister Cares, and now it is not coming under RTI Act. One good example is that the government is not willing to be disclosing where is the fund, who all are the the people who contributed to the fund, where is it being used. If RTI is not there, it is very sad. It should be treated as a public, because Union Prime Minister is involved, the Home Minister is involved, a series of ministers are involved in this, and then you are saying it is not answerable. So that is how the attitude of the executive towards all this transparency and all. So the dilution of RTI Act, it is definitely it violates the concept of transparency, it violates the principles of federalism, undermines the independence of the information commissioners, and also there it significantly dilute the widely used framework for transparency. There is a dilution. So, salary has been it will be fixed by the central government, and most importantly the tenure also will be fixed depending upon what is required, depending upon the information commissioner's behavior. This is something which will definitely dilute and undermine the independence of the chief information or the central information commissioners and the state information commissioners. It will definitely lead to a decline in our democracy and the standards. Okay. So, that is where we should be worried. Now, coming out of this, one scheme which was started by the government called one stop center scheme. One stop center scheme. One stop center scheme. This is a scheme by the government of India for helping women who are affected by violence, for women affected by violence. And the Ministry of Women and Child Development has formulated this centrally sponsored scheme called One Stop Center. It is a scheme or an umbrella scheme for National Mission for Empowering Women. It is an umbrella scheme for National Mission for Empowering Women, including many of the schemes which are going on. So, and it is also this one stop scheme is sponsored under the Nirbhaya fund, funded under the Nirbhaya after that brutal gang rape of that Delhi girl in 2013. Okay, this Nirbhaya fund was created, and using this fund, this one stop center is being set up in every district, and that is in December 2012, not 13, December 2012, and this one stop center is being established across the country, not just one, in every district, to provide integrated support and assistance under one roof, integrated support and assistance under one roof to women affected by violence. This is for women affected by violence, for women affected by violence, and both in private and public space in a phased manner. I mean, it is going to be implemented across the country, and the scheme will be that in this one stop center, this is for medical, legal, psychological and police help for victims. This is for medical, legal, psychological and police help. Okay, medical, legal, psychological and police help for the victims of gender based abuse such as sexual assault or domestic violence, for both sexual assault or for both sexual assault or domestic violence. Both sexual assault or medical assault. Already almost 250 one stop centers have already been set up, and in every district, more than 700 districts in the country. So, one stop center will be set up in every district of the country. More than 700 plus districts are there. Every district of the country will have one stop center. More than 200, almost 250 centers have already been set up, and this will be there in every district. So, a victim of domestic violence can come there, approach there. She is asked for what relief she wants, and if she wants a compromise, there will be a compromise meeting will be called with the husband or the family members, or otherwise whatever medical, legal, psychological, all support will be given by this one-stop center. And if it is a rape victim, and then naturally she will be given all support to ensure that the perpetrators of the crime are arrested and they are punished also. At the same time, she is given all the support so that she can come out of this trauma. Okay. So, that is the meaning of this one-stop center. Anyway, that is for women who are being sexually assaulted or who are victims of domestic violence, and it is by using the Nirbhaya fund. Okay. So, that is the key points in this particular issue. Now, coming to another topic. Now, this is Western Zonal Council meeting, a couple of meetings are held recently. Western Zonal Council. Western Zonal Council. So, there are a couple of meetings in the last 1 year, and these zonal councils are under, zonal councils are advisory councils. Please remember, they are advisory. It is a statutory bodies. Statutory bodies that been by law it has been created, but it's not constitutional bodies. Zonal councils are not constitutional bodies, and there are it is under the State Reorganization Act 1956. State Reorganization Act 1956. Under this zonal councils were created, and there are 5 zonal councils. As we all know, they are the North, South, East, West and the Central. There are 5 zonal councils and a Northeast Council. Okay. This Northeast Council was set up in 1971. The Northeast Council was created by Northeast Council Act 1971. Northeast Council under the 1971 Act. Otherwise, these 5 zonal councils were created in 1956 after the State Reorganization Act or using the State Reorganization Act. Okay. So, in the Northeast Council, all 7 states plus Sikkim, please remember 8 states are involved, including Sikkim. Do not forget, Northeast Council has 8 including Sikkim since 2002. 71 it is created. In 2002, Sikkim was also added as part of the Northeast Council. Sikkim was also added. Andaman and Nicobar and Lakshadweep are not part of any zonal council. Please do not forget, Andaman, Nicobar and Lakshadweep not part of any zonal council, but they are invitees of Southern Zonal Council. Invitees of Southern Zonal Council. Okay. They are invitees of Southern Zonal Council, but they are not members of any particular. And Zonal Council Home Minister, Union Home Minister, Union Home Minister is the chairperson, Chief Ministers of all the states and 2 other ministers of each state. Okay. CM plus 2 other ministers can be member, and administrator of the union territory. If union territory is there, administrator of the union territory also can be there. They are advisory bodies, absolutely no doubt regarding this. And in the Western Zonal Council, that is one of the smallest we can say, because who all are there? Only 3. You can say Dadra and Daman and Diu and Dadra and Nagar Haveli, it is together now. Daman and Diu plus Dadra Nagar Haveli, Gujarat, Maharashtra and Goa. So, these were the 4 Dadra Nagar Haveli, Daman and Diu, they are the union territories. Then Goa, Gujarat and Maharashtra, they are the three. I mean, two of them. In fact, Daman and Diu and Dadra Nagar Haveli are merged together to one union territory right now. Then Gujarat is there, Maharashtra is there, Goa is there. That's all in the Western Zonal Council. South, as you know, I mean, South is has many Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, then Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, then Pondicherry. Okay. So, there are 5 states plus Pondicherry is there in South. Okay. So, that is the situation as far as the zonal council there. So, anyway, so this Western Zonal Council, a couple of meetings has happened, that is why it was in news. Be aware and be careful about this. Now, coming to National Integration Council. National Integration Council. See, this National Integration Council was repeatedly in news, because when they, especially the Ayodhya verdict came, there was a demand by many people that the National Integration Council should be called, but unfortunately nothing happened. Prime Minister Modi did not call for any National Integration Council and all. So, it was set up in June 1962 under the Prime Ministership of Nehru. It was in 1962 by Prime Minister Nehru at that time, to address the problems of communalism and regionalism in India. The main concern was communalism, regionalism, casteism, etc. So, that was in 1962. It included cabinet ministers, all chief ministers, entrepreneurs, celebrities. It's a broad, National Integration Council is a small one. It's not a small one. It's a broad one. Okay. So, Prime Minister is the chairperson. Extra constitutional body not mentioned in the constitution. National Integration Council is an extra constitutional body, because it is not mentioned in the constitution. 16 meetings of the National Integration Council till 2019, 16 meetings, but after this we were supposed to, we were expecting a National Integration Council and all to be called after the Ayodhya verdict. Nothing happened of that nature. Okay, there was no such thing, and as I said, cabinet ministers, chief ministers, political leaders, the University Grants Commission chairperson, then commissioner of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, all, lot of people, and basically to how to create that feeling of oneness and togetherness, and that was the idea behind the whole thing. Only 16 meetings have been held. So, the last meeting of the National Integration Council was held in September 2013, the last meeting in September 2013, that is all during the previous UPA government's time, and it passed a resolution maintaining communal harmony and ending discrimination by condemning atrocities on scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. So, the main focus of 2013 meeting was to improve communal harmony and ending discrimination on scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. So, that is how this was there, but right now after Prime Minister Modi came to power, he has not reconstituted, he has not called this meeting also. The last meeting was in September 2013. So, till 2020, I mean till today, only 16 National Integration Council meetings are held, and we should have more such meetings, more I will say broader opinion making, it should be created, the broader concept, or rather we should invite opinion from experts in the field, independent experts, academicians, entrepreneurs, celebrities, all can be brought in to bring in that feeling of oneness and togetherness, national integration, to reduce communalism, to reduce casteism, to reduce regionalism. All these isms are very dangerous for our development and progress. Wastage of time and money is happening. So, that is where this National Integration Council and all can help, but unfortunately the last almost 7 years no such meeting has been held. After the Ayodhya verdict, there was a call, there was a demand from many experts, many outsiders, that at least a National Integration Council meeting should be called to bring in more unity and cohesion in the society, which did not happen. Okay. So, that is about National Integration Council. Now, let me talk about another a Supreme Court verdict itself about on that. The CJI's office is a public authority under RTI. CJI office, the Chief Justice of India's office, is a public authority under RTI. So, the Supreme Court in November 2019, ruled that the office of the Chief Justice of India is a public authority under this act. The order was passed by 5-judge constitution bench. It was a 5-judge constitution bench verdict. A 5-judge constitution bench headed by the then Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi, they gave this verdict, and it said that the importance of transparency in judiciary, it highlighted the importance of transparency in judiciary, and the constitutional bench said that the Chief Justice of India comes under the definition of public authority, no doubt regarding this, and there is a unanimous decision, and it upholds that in fact, in this controversy came, the case came in 2010, when the Delhi High Court at that time, under the leadership of A.P. Shaw at that time, he is a very famous judge at that time, in 2010, the Delhi High Court has ruled that Chief Justice of India will come under, Delhi High Court verdict, Chief Justice will come under the ambit of RTI. And so, this was questioned in the Supreme Court. This ruling by the Delhi High Court was challenged in the Supreme Court by the Supreme Court itself. It is very funny a bit. We can say Supreme Court filed a review in the a review petition, or rather an appeal in the Supreme Court against the Delhi High Court verdict. A constitution bench was created. This constitution bench has said that yes, a Supreme Court Chief Justice office will come under the RTI, and the constitution bench said that a system of opaqueness, nobody wants a system of opaqueness. It should not be opaque. Nobody wants a system of opaqueness. Judiciary cannot be destroyed in the name of this transparency and confusion. And Supreme Court even said that the doctrine of necessity. See, even though there may be some issues for a larger cause, see, this doctrine of necessity, it comes under, Supreme Court said that applying the doctrine of necessity, meaning even though it may not be 100% right, for a larger cause we are sacrificing this, that is the meaning of that. The apex court always said that transparency should be primacy, transparency should, the court should stand for transparency, and the court is standing for transparency in the functioning, especially of the other organs of the state. When the Supreme Court said that when we are demanding transparency in every other department, in every other organ of the state, every other organ of the government, we cannot be standing outside by saying that we will not come under the RTI. Okay. So, finally, Supreme Court said that even the Chief Justice office will come under the the definition of come under the RTI, and we are happy to be transparent. Judicial independence and accountability go hand in hand. That is what Supreme Court gave this verdict. They said that judicial independence and transparency will go hand in hand. Judicial independence does not mean that the judges are precluded from the rule of law. The judicial independence should be there, but it should be well within the rule of law, and no office is above law, and that citizens have a right to question the institutions and office. No office is above law. no office is above law, and that citizens have a right to question the institutions and the officers. That is how the Supreme Court has said. So, that is great that Supreme Court has given this in a very clear verdict. So, that the CJI's office also comes under the Right to Information Act, where but Prime Minister, that is what I was saying, the PM Care Fund, where more than 10,000 crore rupees have come, Prime Minister's office say it will not come under it. That is quite unfortunate. We should have been, I mean, that transparency is there. You are collecting fund, it is not a private fund. You are collecting money in the name of the Prime Minister of India. Prime Minister is not an individual we are talking, Prime Minister as an institution. We should be looking into that. Nobody can be above law. Everybody has to be within the law. Citizens have a right to know. So, coming to another topic, one last topic today I would like to discuss, that is right to be forgotten. Okay, right to be forgotten. That means, this case has come in the context of the internet and all. So, what has happened was that in a European Court of Justice in 2014, in a Spanish person was unhappy that while searching his name on Google, it came up a newspaper article from 1998. No, the incident was like this. The Spanish person called Mario Gonzalez, he searched his name and he found a newspaper article of 1998. He approached the newspaper in 2009 to get the article removed, as he felt it was no longer relevant. The newspaper felt it is inappropriate to erase the article, and the Gonzalez then approached the Google. Google also did not do anything. So, he went to the European Court of Justice, and the European Court of Justice asked Google to delete inadequate, irrelevant or no longer relevant. So, the verdict was that to delete inadequate, then irrelevant or no longer relevant, data from its search engine. Okay, no longer relevant data from the search engine if a member of the public requests, if a member requests so. So, this is known as the right to be forgotten. This ruling is known as the right to be forgotten, and has been enforced in the data protection laws in EU. Okay, this has been enforced in EU. Now, this has been in India also in the draft, data protection bill. The Justice in a B.N. Sri Krishna committee has recommended, B.N. Sri Krishna committee has laid a significant emphasis on obtaining the consent of an individual to process and use personal data. So, obtaining the consent of an individual for using and processing the data that has come. So, ultimately what is right to be forgotten? The bottom line is the ability of an individual to limit, delink, delete or correct the disclosure of the personal information on the internet that is misleading, embarrassing or irrelevant. So, if the public demands, if the person, a member of the public demands, an individual demands removal or rather to limit, delink, delete or correct the information or the disclosure of the personal information on the internet which is misleading, embarrassing or irrelevant, that right should be there with the individual. That is the meaning of right to be forgotten. So, your right to remove data from the internet, from the social media which is misleading, embarrassing or irrelevant. That is the meaning of right to be forgotten. It has already been enforced in EU in the draft data protection bill, and in our which is supposed to be there, this provision is included. It has been incorporated in India also. In future, we also will have this right to be forgotten, which will be very important, because again it is a part of our right to dignity, a dignified life, and a right to have reputation. So, if something happened, if it is irrelevant today, and if the public wants that information and data, it should be removed from the internet, from the social media and the internet space. That is the meaning of right to be forgotten. So, that is all from my side on this particular incident, or on this current affairs on polity. This same video which we are talking, which will be uploaded in our ALS Onlive portal also. If you missed it, you can watch it again, you can use it. Our aim is to help you in getting maximum questions as possible in this preliminary exam, which is going to happen in October 2020. So, that is what we are looking forward. Please utilize us, and if you are not a student of ALS, still we have so many things as a free program there. Some material will be uploaded, some tests are there, you can utilize. Our existing students, please utilize it fully. Please take the test. The module tests are coming, more tests are coming. Please ensure that you are participating in the test. Revision, or rather studying, memorizing, revision and test, all are equally important. If you can utilize the time from now onwards also for the next 60 days, your chance of getting to the exam is very, very bright. Preliminary 12,000–13,000 people will clear. You need only one seat, which is always possible. Put in the right effort, definitely you will be able to achieve. Okay. So, that is all from my side for polity after half an hour. Okay. So, right now it is already 3:05. So, by 3:35, Manish will be taking up his version of polity related current affairs, and please enjoy, please study. All these topics are important. In ALS, we have also given you a monthly magazine right from last July. 1 year current affairs is there with you. Please revise that. Lot of information is there in that also. I have picked up some of the important topics from that also. You please revise, look into, read, revise, memorize, and repeated revision and practice of questions. That is the key to success in this exam. Please don't forget. Please be serious. Put in your best effort. You can clear this preliminary very easily. That is the bottom line. Thank you. Bye bye for the day. After half an hour, that is 3:35, Manish will start, continue with this polity, current affairs polity.